the hottest players in baseball, and the worst takes in politics. Colorado is getting both of them. All-Star Game moved out of Atlanta because of Georgia's new restrictive voting laws coming to Denver, in this state that aims to make it easier, not harder, for people to vote. Immediately, all these national figures started claiming that Colorado limits voting just like Georgia. We both know that's nonsense, and politics guy Marshall Zellinger can explain exactly why.
Check out the stats. 94% of voters in Colorado turned in a mail ballot last November. 74% voted in person in Georgia. In Colorado, mail ballots are sent to every active registered voter. In Georgia, mail ballots are by request only. And with some exceptions, you have to do it every election. Voter drop boxes. Remember this interactive map we provided you with every drop box in Colorado? There were 397 drop boxes last election, almost 100 more than legally required. How many your county has depends on how many voters there are. In densely populated counties, it's one for every 12,500 voters. In smaller counties, one for every 15,000 voters. Drop boxes are open 24 hours a day, starting 15 days prior to the election, and you can drop your ballot off in any of the state's drop boxes. In Georgia, the new requirement is one drop box for every 100,000 voters. The new law places drop boxes inside early voting sites, so they're not open 24 hours a day, only when early voting is happening, which ends the Friday before Election Day. In Colorado, you can register to vote up to and on Election Day. In Georgia, you have to register 29 days before the election. Voter ID, yes, it's needed in both states. In Colorado, you need it at least in the beginning, when you register for the first time, and if you choose to vote in person. You also need it the first time you vote by mail if you haven't previously voted in Colorado or previously provided ID. Colorado gives 16 ways to provide ID, not just a driver's license. In Georgia, there are 6 ways to provide ID, which is also needed to vote in person. If you vote by mail, you need to provide your driver's license or ID number, or last 4 digits of your social. Some similarities? Both states use ballot tracks to monitor your ballot status online, except Denver, which uses ballot trace. And except for 2 counties in Colorado, both states use Dominion voting machines.
There's been a lot of attention on the idea of not being able to hand someone food or water in line, and that's true in Georgia. You can't do that within 25 feet of any voter waiting in line. In Colorado, you cannot electioneer within 100 feet of a polling place. So if you're wearing a candidate's shirt or a button, you wouldn't be able to hand out food or water there, at least within the 100 feet. But Colorado also doesn't have the problem of long lines where food or water in line might be necessary, Kyle.
That's what I'm shouting through the TV. We don't stand in line for hours because we don't make people go through that hurdle to vote. That's kind of at the essence of the difference, mail-in voting versus waiting in line for hours.
And there's another aspect that I really didn't get into in the story. It's about the rules and regulations of voting. That, lawmakers make the laws for how elections work, and then it's up to, in Colorado, the Secretary of State's office to implement rules. And Georgia changed that as well, taking that power away from the Secretary of State's office and instead giving it to the Republican state legislature.
All right, Marshall Zellinger with a heaping helping of truth tonight. Appreciate that.